Hey, Natural Born Sisters! Welcome to another episode of Kinky in the Kitchen, where every swirl, curl, coil, and wave is celebrated. You'll hear inspiring stories from women who have left straight hair, wigs, and weaves behind, despite the discrimination and bias, to reclaim their power by rocking their natural hair. Be it spiraled, kinky, defined, or straight. Whether you're already a natural sister or still finding the courage to unleash your beautiful coils, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. Let's get to know your host. She's passionate about inspiring Black women to rock their natural hair with confidence, teaching our Black natural hair-wearing women how to show up despite hair discrimination and biases. She's natural like you and rocks her kinks in the kitchen loud and proud. She's Lisa E., aka Natural Born Sistah.
What's up, Natural Born Sisters? It's your girl Lisa E., aka Natural Born Sistah, aka Living My Best Life. Welcome to the Kinky in the Kitchen podcast, the show that highlights Black women who are rocking their natural hair with confidence despite discrimination and bias. Last week, I took a deep dive into my natural hair story, which of course included other life-changing events which others may think were a little too personal. And I would agree. However, I am sharing with others in my community. So there's a sense of comfort there that allows me to share my most personal imperfections as I describe it. I talked about my press and curl struggle as a child, my transition to jerry curls, and then my transition to relaxer, how my hair was affected by change of life and my 15-year-old pregnancy, and how I've been able to get through all of these events and still continue on to tell my story today. Well, I never thought I would have the opportunity to even tell my story, more or less even have a story, or even share with hundreds of other people. Remember, I was that shy, introverted soul that didn't care too much about sharing a conversation. I was more of a great listener than anything. Now, if you catch me, you may just want to run nowadays. Nah, but all jokes aside, but for real, I've come a long way. So long, I've upgraded myself to an ambivert. Now, that ambivert is right in the middle, so there's still some introvert in there. But upgrading to the middle of that type of personality trait is pretty cool. But I still can't stand to be at a job for many years, like being around the people. But especially though, if I don't like the rules and the procedures. Some procedures just don't make no sense. And then when you want to give input, they want to take credit for it. So I don't even bother giving too much input now unless it affects my job personally. Like if I have to do like a report or something, and I know if I get something changed here, it'll make it easier for me. Things like that affect my job personally, not as a whole. So I always saw myself as a successfulite. That's a made up word, y'all. But AKA a successful business person who was somewhat accomplished, right? But what the fuck happened? I mean, I'm pushing well into the middle of my 50s, and I haven't seen that yet from a business perspective. So let me tell you something. All I know is that I love to help others. And if I see you and that you have a special skill or talent, best believe I'm willing to show you how to make that a reality. I want to pull it out of you. I want to help you become a success. But here's the hard part. You have to want that too. It's hard to want it for someone who can't see it in themselves. And I remember one day I was going to the store for my grandmother in the streets of Brooklyn, New York, to get her a few items from the store. Now, if you're familiar with BK, you know that walking anywhere, you are liable to see somebody selling something on the street. And not only they selling stuff on the street, but they successful as hell. So I'm walking and I pass by this white man and his young little daughter. She looks like maybe about 6 years old. I'm not good with Asian kids so much because I haven't had any of my own, but I do all right. So they were selling paintings. Now, right away, I knew that the little girl created these paintings because of the way they were painting. Not saying it was bad, but because of the way they were painted. But you could tell a child painted them. She was actually selling her paintings, and her father was there to support her. So a passerby decided she wanted to buy one, and her father told her to sign it. And the customer that was going to buy it said, Of course she's going to sign it. In a way to say, like, what do you mean? Of course she's definitely going to sign. Like, I just felt like she didn't have to say it in the manner that she said it. But anyway, it's not about her. It's about that little girl. She was so happy when she collected the money and signed the art. Hell, I was happy for her. It was the cutest exchange I've seen in a while. But do you know what this young lady was doing? She was creating her story. The excitement of getting her first sale at that early age will allow sparks to fly and want to do it again. It's like a first kill or an addiction that keeps you wanting more, right? And you know what's going to make her successful, right? That story. I applaud her father for taking the time, helping her figure out if this is something she would love to continue with in life. I thought that this was a very touching situation involving both parent and child. It's never too late to create your story, but make sure it happens naturally. Just pursue the things you enjoy in life and see what comes out of it, right? So, enough with the tissue paper feelings. Let's get into it where I left off. So, having a relaxer would go off and on for years until I was an adult, around my 30s somewhere. Now, in my 30s, I would go off and on for years at a time. So, an example would be like I would get the relaxer to grow out for about a year, and then I get real antsy, and then I get a new relaxer because you see, this is what I call the frustration period. And if I did not have a relaxer for a year, I felt like I accomplished being natural for some time. Almost like I just did my part, right? That's bullshit because this went on for years. And the fact that I started graying when I was in my 20s did not make the process any easier. I always had the fact of going natural in my mind, but never had the guts to do it. And the gray was a blocker as well. And although I did have color rinses, if you're familiar with color rinses, they were like the opposite of permanent color or semi permanent color. I gotta get it right. Those only lasted for about 10 minutes and the grays would be popping out again. Of course, I'm exaggerating 10 minutes, more like 3 days. I mean, how could I go to the hairdresser, get a rinse, and 3 days I'm struggling with gray hair? So to me, it stopped being, worth doing. It wasn't worth doing as the way I wanted it to do. So I cut that shit out. I was afraid of being pregnant. I was stressed out because it's a secret that I only knew, or at least I thought I was the only one that knew. Because at the time, as it went by, his mother called it. When we were going to the park, I think it was fishing. Like his parents, they love to do outdoors things, and the kids would go. And of course, they would always ask me to go. I think it was maybe fishing this time because I knew that his dad liked to go fishing. So I would spend a lot of time with the family because my bestie at the time was his sister. And they would ask me to come along, and I would go to my grandmother, and she allowed me to go most times. And my grandmother's so cool, she would need a goose down coat in the summertime. But I know. Corny, corny. But yes, his mother knew. During an argument between his mother and stepdad, may they both rest in peace because they are no longer with us. She was angry and threw us in the argument. I didn't catch on at first, but then I was like, huh? She knew something was up and she let us know she knew. However, on the other hand, my grandmother and auntie, they would do it differently. My grandmother noticed that my sanitary napkins were not moving, so she brought it to my attention when I came in from outside one day. The only thing that made me sad was that she said that she was going to tell my mom. And I was so afraid because I already labeled myself getting pregnant as a bad thing and it should come with a punishment. But on the other hand, I was sort of relieved in a way. But by this time, it was too late for my hair. All the stress I've gone through, everything, my hair was finished. But my mother, she forced me to have an abortion and wanted me to start fresh. She said, because she said that she did not want me to grow up like her with a child, as she was talking about me. So now No baby issues, just hair issues. So around this time, I wanted a weave. Now, weaves around this time in the 80s was fairly new, but I was excited about it. So my auntie installed a nice long weave in my head. She did a great job for her first time, and I was very pleased. So pleased, in fact, that when she told me to go outside, because, we that kind of family, we like to show up. She wanted me to go outside so I could show off my work. And I obliged, of course. Normally, I wouldn't have done that because I was sort of shy still around this age. I love my weave. And it wasn't until people started noticing and asking me if that was my hair or telling me it wasn't made for me or just just having it on was just an issue at first jump. But guess what? I rocked the hell out of that weave. I got over the stigmata quick that others would have left on me. But this was a new Lisa. This was it, y'all. Sis, it was going to be the weave. That was the ultimate game changer for me. And I didn't have to decide what to do with my own hair. I had someone else's hair on my head to cover my own. Sounds sad, isn't it? But it's real though, right? So over time in my teenage years, I would wear braids and weaves, switch it up every now and again or not. This is where the McDonald's job will come in to help me from Brooklyn, a job that will help me with my struggles because now I am a high school dropout. My mother decided that it was time for me to go back to Far Rockaway in school. And we all know why, right? Because I fucked up. I got myself pregnant, right? So I did. Now I did not have a fight because I know I did wrong, according to my mother and what she thought society would think. So I did that. I went back to school for 6 months, graduated, started looking for work. This was the time when I mentioned I worked at the supermarket in episode 8. I did that for close to a couple of years and was famous for being versatile with my hairstyles because every 2 to 4 weeks I would come in with a different weave style. I was cute. I used to get really creative with my hair in collaboration with my hairdresser, my friend, also. So years go by and I started to work at the airport at the age 21. I love my airport job because it allowed me to travel the world for chump change. I was still young, so I wanted to see what the world had to offer back then. Traveling the world with different styles tempted folks to want to touch my hair. And I would, of course, say no. I really would say hell no. But it would get so irritating time after time. It was ridiculous. So, one of my favorite places to go was in the Caribbean, more so Jamaica, to be more specific, even though I've been to many other Caribbean countries. And my friends and I would have fun with the locals at the bar and in the clubs. Those are the time I would never forget, sis. But I would also remember the stares from either the white locals or white tourists when it came to my hair. And truthfully, keeping it 100, it really bothered me. I would never challenge anyone when it came to the stares. I knew I was cute, like I said. So why put that energy into that? So as I progressed in age over the years, in my mid 20s about, I would spot a gray hair strand here and there. I wasn't really pressed at the time, but it was just a couple of strands. However, quickly over the course of 5 years, I had salt and pepper hair. I hated that look. So my very talented hairdresser would use the rinses to cover it up, as I mentioned before. She always used, what was best for the client's hair, especially if they had a relaxer in their hair. So I say that to say, so she would not put a permanent color in your hair if you had a permanent. She never took those chances. She wanted to reduce the impact of adding another chemical on top of it. So although you could use a dye on top of relaxers, even if you could wait a week or two later, she still had the concern. So she would always offer the option of rinse color instead. So this continued on for many years. However, going into my 30s seemed to be the most challenging. It was the time I decided to no longer relax my hair, and this was the time I also decided to move to Georgia. I stopped getting relaxers and tried to do things with my hair, no clue to what I was doing. So one day I went to the beauty supply store and purchased my first synthetic wig. Human hair wigs was not a big thing back then, and you would be lucky to even spot one or even spot one you like because they were just not that popular. Manufacturers would soon catch on within a year or so, maybe, to market on the idea and based on the requests of them. So you could order them if you wanted them and pay a pretty penny. So I went to synthetic wigs most of the time, and I did good with those. I picked the ones that fit my face that worked for me. And if there was an option for a human wig that I like, I would get that. I would spend the coins to get that. So the wigs, my routine was a basic wash and condition every 2 weeks, no special products. You never knew about home remedies as much as we do now. No detangler, no cold wash, no rice water, none of those things. So I would grease my scalp and I would corn roll my hair back so that it was easy to slip on my wig every day. And this routine would grow my hair. Never paid much attention to it because now I found a new way to wear my hair under a wig. I would just continue to leave it braided underneath the wig with the possibility that wigs would be my life and I would never show my natural coils. Knowing how to wear natural hair was not something I had notes about. It was a thing, and I was tired of chemicals, and I knew I was not going back to a press and curl. So, wait, they still doing that? I don't know. Anyway, the wig was my scapegoat. I didn't even care if anyone knew if I was wearing a wig because I was just done. I learned how to style them as time went on. Better versions of wigs became available. I slaved with the trend, and I could afford it at this time. I was in a serious relationship, right? At the time I started. And I happened to transition while we were together as well. We did have the talk because I really couldn't hide the fact that I was wearing a wig. Shit, we lived together. I discussed with him the fact that I wanted to stop getting relaxes and leave my natural leave my hair natural basically. I don't think I mentioned a wig, but he did ask me what I was going to do, so I had to tell him, right? That I'll be wearing wigs until I figured it out. Of course, that last part was a lie because I did not know what I needed to figure it out. And he did not know what wigs would be my life, right? So now it's a wig after wig for years. After I had a hysterectomy in 2009 or 2010, give or take a year, I started to suffer from hot flashes bad. I never knew that this could be a side effect of this popular surgery because no one never really told me, not even my doctor. So having hormonal imbalances and dealing with wearing wigs was a double whammy, just like having partially gray hair and wearing it natural and not knowing what to do with it. Yes, at this point, my hair was about 90% gray in color. No more salt and pepper, just gray. Yes, at this point, yes. But still, I did not know what to do with it. I researched online to find natural hairdressers, and I say hairdressers. Who still says hairdressers? Maybe a hairstylist. And there were many around. There weren't many around at the time, I meant to say, because that was like early on when things started to get popular, right? But you could find like one or two here and there. But now natural hairstylists have become more popular. So now it's like, which one do I go to? If only I could find something in my hood, I would have the convenience of going. So I kept wearing a wig until about May 2020. Okay, so we moving fast now. We're moving down the years, right? Although there's a lot of story in between, I want to get you guys the best parts. I'm just picking them out. So May of 2020, which was the end of my long time 3-month battle with COVID. Part of that time, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks and my hair stayed braided. It stayed underneath a bonnet. I was so sick. The last thing I thought about was my hair. And it wasn't until months later when I started to feel better, I got concerned. I was afraid to take the braids out, although I saw new growth when I looked at my hair. And I thought that was all that was going to be there when I take the braids out. So I was not happy when it was time to take my hair down. I was actually a little depressed because I had negative expectations, right? So I took down one braid and combed it out slowly, hoping I would not see unwanted strands going into my comb. I comb it again. I'm mad slow with it, right? And again, the more I combed it, the better I started to feel about taking out my braids. I was still nervous and excited because this was still the beginning. Now, once I get all the braids out, I will comb all my hair together. And I had a little bit more than normal shedding, but I was so excited. I videotaped my excitement. I sent it to my grandmother in a text that said, COVID didn't take my hair. COVID didn't take my hair. So comment if you like to see it. Let me know because I was a little. I'm mad silly. People who know me, they know I'm silly. I'll post it in the Kinky in the Kitchen Facebook group. If you are a member, let me know and I'll send it in that group. I got to at least hear from at least 10 people because that'll make me feel comfortable. At least 10 people wanting to see it and I'll be comfortable posting it anyway. Anyway, so I stayed with the braided protected style until my mother introduced me to her longtime friend who also treats and styles natural hair. So I was lucky to even ask my mother and have this person, find this person. And she's good for my hair as far as treating it well. She's responsible for most of the growth I have today. I love my hair now. I love to look in the mirror and manipulate the style, switch it up when I feel like it. I don't have to put a flat iron or anything hot on my head anymore. I make sure I keep it moisturized as much as I can. And I'm just loving the new Lisa. I wish I had done this a long time ago. So my story leads me to the birth of Natural Born Sistah. I wanted to create a t-shirt line that gave women confidence in wearing their natural hair. Now the t-shirt line has catchy phrases that speaks volumes as it relates to the black woman wearing her natural hair. I swear I wish I had someone who thought about this before me and it would have, it could have taken me out of my shell a long time ago. So the fact that I can wear a tee that says Natural Born Sister or Kinky ASF or even Kinky is the New Straight is a huge game changer. And the fact that I'm able to voice my confidence without voicing it literally, right? And it's like, don't step to me. It's like a full warning. That's why I sloganed it, Power for Your Natural Hair, confidently voiced through our apparel, because that's exactly what it does. It gives you that versatility to wear whatever mood you're feeling. And there are about 20 tees in this product line, right? However, I haven't had them all loaded on the site as yet, as it is a work in processes, but I got you. And I promise you, I will get them all in. Creating the Natural Born Sistah brand was that one thing I created to help me with going natural. It was a commitment to me, the brand, as I try to encourage others in the struggle of embracing their natural hair as I did. I want to let the other Black women who are learning to embrace their natural know that they're not alone. And if you're interested in wearing Power for Your Natural Hair, please check the link in the show notes and get yours so that you can show the world it's your choices, it's your hair, right? So I was going to end the podcast there, but I wanted to share a story that I didn't share. And this goes on early age, probably in single digits age. I should have put it at the top. But I want to share this because it's important to me. And I know that when I interview other natural born sisters, I think I've mentioned it maybe once or twice, but I do want to mention it here in my own story. So for those who listen, who are fans of the podcast, remember that story I shared when I went to camp, right? When I went to camp, my grandmother braided my hair. I think it was cornrows, and it had, the extensions, the braids. My grandmother is no joke when it came to anything, and I feel like I'm just like her. Like she can take anything and make anything out of it. It's like she's a salesperson. She's creative. Like I felt like she started the braid game, you know. But I went to camp, and it was a Bible camp. It was me, my brother, and my cousin, and I think I had to be around 9 years old, right? And you know me, I was cute. I had my braids. My mother would go shopping. We would get new clothes. Fine. This was going to be a 1 week journey or 2 weeks. I think it was 1 week. Anyway, um, so one day we were in our room. We had like real cabins. Like if you walk out the door, it's outside. Um, so if it was winter, it was freezing cold. So that's why camp was only in the summer. Because like we had real cabins and shit, like from the movies that they be having. Like with these teenagers, they go to cabins out in the woods and people getting killed. It was shit like that. It was creepy. I didn't like it. But anyway, I'm sitting on my bunk bed because we had bunk beds. I think we had like 3 sets of bunk beds in that cabin, and it was a bathroom. So I'm sitting up there and I'm writing some stuff down because I think our captain had wanted us to write some things down. So there was two other girls in my room with me. So one of the girls, she was a little spicy. She came up, she's like, "That's not your hair." So I give her a slow look, like my head turned around slow and look at her. I'm like, "Excuse me?" She said, "It's not your hair." I said, "What do you mean it's not my hair? And even if it wasn't, what is it to you? And how do you know that it's not my hair?" She's like, "I could tell it's not your hair." She said, "Because it's all the way long." I said, "Okay. All right. So if that's what you think, okay, you can go with that." She said, "Yeah, I just know that's not your hair." Okay. I'm like, fine. Okay. I was very passive because if I got myself amped up, I didn't know what I was capable of. Like I can be really bitchy sometimes, but then I know how to let things go. So I have that flexibility in my personality. Anyway, it didn't really bother me that much, right? So we went out to lunch. I think it was lunch. We would go into this big hall, mess hall, and they had good food all the time. I never really remember complaining about the food. But then after we have lunch, we would go outside and we had activities. And my roommates, they kind of wanted to hang out with me. So I thought it was weird because I felt like you would diss me by saying that's not my hair, but at the same time, you want to hang out with me. Okay, fine, whatever it is, what it is. So we all, I forgot what activity we was doing, but we kind of like was chilling out. We wasn't really doing much of anything, right? So one of the another girl had came, or did we go? No, I guess we walked. It's like, are they fucking following me? But anyway, I think we walked, and there was another young lady with braids. She had nice braids in her hair, right? But her braids were very different from mine, and you can tell that they were not real. You can tell they were extensions. Because remember back in the days where they used to put the loop at the top? So whoever did her hair did the loop at the top of every braid. It wasn't a good job. I'm sure it could have been better. But remember, braids are still new at this time, like getting extensions in your hair. So that's why I was saying my grandmother's super creative because I didn't have that. You can see that it didn't look like extensions, but you would know because we didn't have long hair like that. So anyway, so the girl that said to me in the cabin that my hair wasn't real, she saw that girl. She said to that girl, "That's not your hair." I'm like, what is this, a thing? Like, I'm standing around looking like, what the? So the girl didn't say anything. And she said it again. She said, "That's not your hair." She said, "I could tell." No, this time she volunteered the information. The girl didn't ask her. She said, "I could tell that's not your hair because you got those loops at the top of your hair. That's the fake hair that's sticking out." I think that girl cried because I don't remember her having an exchange in conversation. I think she just ghosted. So I'm standing there saying to myself, so everybody has fake hair because she even said, and I missed the part before the girl left. She said, her hair is real, talking about me. Her hair is real. Now, all of a sudden, my hair is real. Are you serious? You just said about an hour and a half ago that's not my hair. But then you see this young lady's hair And you could tell it looks fake, but now you can't even tell mine don't look fake. You just want to talk and pop shit and mess with everybody. And that's what it was like growing up. As a kid, you always had to watch out for that bully type of person who's going to say something no matter what you feel about it. They don't care. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, I definitely want to tell that story because I think it's an important part of my natural hair journey to include these little stories about things and experiences that I've had in my struggle. Because wearing hair on my hair, that's considered a part of the struggle because we were never taught to wear our hair naturally. So if you ever see a young lady with hair, don't diss her. Just encourage her. I know it's back then and it's probably not like that anymore now, but you still have one or two stories. So just encourage her. Please, I beg you. All right? So this is where my story ends. And I just want everybody to stay positive as it relates to natural hair. Go ahead and get your Natural Born Sistah tea, whatever tea that relates to your struggle, and be greasy. I'm so glad you took the time to hear my story. So what did you take from it? Was it relatable in some sense for you? I learned a lot after hearing my own story, and if I had to give myself advice, it would be to let the past go. You've made ample strides in your natural hair journey, girl. Just never look back unless you are looking to learn from your mistakes so that you may correct them and share with others, so that you will know that they aren't alone in the struggle. And remember, I rock the Natural Born Sistah t-shirt quite often. It's part of my story. And if you can relate to any part of my story, then this is the t-shirt for you. It speaks volumes to those who have struggled to rock their natural hair with confidence. Find a link in the show notes of any casting station you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, we're bringing you kinky content in the kitchen every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on your favorite cast and YouTube. Be peasy. Peace.
That's all for today. What feelings are you left with? Do you have questions? Thoughts? DM on IG at Natural Born Sistah and let's talk about it. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. They really help us grow and reach more women who need company on their hair journey. We'll chat it up next week.